Welcome back to Fair It's Gone, episode 51. On deck for you guys today, we have a World Series preview, including a Game 1 live recap as it's happening right now. After that, we touch on what happened during the ALCS and the NLCS. You're not going to want to miss this jam-packed episode.
Give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Welcome back. Dude, World Series time finally. I realize this is a day late. We're actually in the bottom of the fifth of Game 1 right now. Dodgers are up 2-1 after a Bellinger 2-run shot and then a Kiermaier solo shot. But the World Series is going to be insane. Obviously, we're starting up tonight, or I guess last night, with Kershaw versus Glasnow and two electric guys. Tampa Bay already named their starter for tomorrow. It's Blake Snell. And then LA has their starter name for Game 3 with Buehler, so I guess it's kind of up in the air tomorrow for LA, and then up in the air in Game 3 for Buehler. But these are the exact opposite of teams. You have a team that's star-studded. Everyone knows the Dodgers lineup. Everyone knows the Dodgers rotation. Everyone knows everyone for the Dodgers, including borderline bench players at this point. And we have gotten to the point where on the Rays, you might know 3 pitchers and good old Randy, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's really a tale of two different teams. I mean, at this point, we think of the Dodgers as maybe still not quite the free agent power that the Yankees are known as, but I mean, as far as big market, kind of that evil empire team, that's the Dodgers right now. That's been the Dodgers. I mean, they spend big. They've consistently still been at the top in payroll. They seem to have a fountain of youth, of talent. It just seems never ending. They've traded guys out of their system like Yordan Alvarez, Alex Verdugo, who have starred on other teams that may not even get regular PT on the Dodgers with the way their team's built. I don't really think they've had any signings go wrong. They made all the right moves. They seem to never run out of talent. They've got the budget. They've got the market. And then you've got the Rays, who are, I would say, the 2010s. Right now, they're the epitome of the Moneyball teams from the early 2000s with the A's. And I think I saw a graphic yesterday on ESPN. Basically, the prorated salaries for this year, Mookie Betts and Clayton Kershaw alone are making like $25 million. The Rays' entire prorated payroll is $27 million.
Wow.
So if that doesn't tell you how big of a contrast those two teams are, as far as market and budget and payroll, it's about as opposite ends as they come. And I think it'll be interesting because the teams are kind of built two different ways too. I know you put out on Twitter the other week about the Rays and the different trades that they've made. A lot of their team and their core contributors have been trade chips and guys that they've gotten in trades that have been kind of sneakily won by the Rays. I mean, they got Randy Arozarena and Jose Martinez, who has now been traded to the Cubs, for Matthew Liberatore, and I'm blanking on who else, but didn't give up much for him. They clearly have won the Chris Archer trade with Tyler Glasnow, who looks to be twice the pitcher that Archer is, and then throw in Austin Meadows on top of that. Great moves. Mike Zunino, another guy. I don't know if they got him through a trade,
Yep.
but an underrated piece who's played really well for them. Hunter Renfroe, I know they got in a trade from San Diego. Like, they've just got guys everywhere that you don't, they're not household names. You don't think much of them until they get to Tampa, and they just find a way to get it done.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. Just looking at this tweet that I sent out a few days ago, Zunino and Perez, both their catchers, were acquired in a trade. G-Man Troy was a trade. Brandon Lau was a draft piece. Adames trade. Yandy Diaz was a trade. Arozarena trade. Kevin Kiermaier was from the draft. Hunter Renfroe trade. Austin Meadows trade. Joey Wendell trade. Emmanuel Margot trade. And then the Japanese phenom that I can't pronounce his name and Brosu were both free agents. When I think of the Rays, I
remember.
Mm-hmm.
Kiermaier's a super late round pick too. Like, he wasn't even a top pick. Even the guy in Lau too, maybe. Even the guys that they've drafted have been under the radar guys.
Yeah, we can talk about their pitching all day long, and we understand how good they are. But when I was thinking of this lineup, I really thought they were a bunch of draft guys that were late developers or were those 10th through 30th round picks that maybe not a lot of people heard of or weren't on the big top 10 position boards. A lot of no-name prospects, and then I start looking, and they're all trade pieces. I mean, I remember Zunino was in Seattle. Troy was with the Brewers, of all teams. I remember the Adames trade a few years ago was kind of a big trade in the David Price piece. Rosarena, obviously, from the Cardinals. Renfroe from the Padres. Meadows was in that Glasnow Archer deal. Margot was from the Padres. It's a really well-built team, and like we've said, Kevin Cash has figured out the best way to get the most out of these guys. When you're getting huge contributions from people like Manuel Margot, who hit 1 home run in all of the regular season and then has hit 3 in the postseason so far, it's a little ridiculous. Obviously, Kiermaier from the draft is an unbelievable defender. But Brandon Lau, unbelievable hitter who really didn't come out of nowhere this year, but he made huge strides. Austin Meadows, a veteran guy.
Average home runs and RBIs this season.
Zunino, he may go 1 for 4 with 3 Ks, but that one hit is honestly going to be a bomb that's about 480 feet. Like, he hit one the other night that off the bat I knew was probably in the second deck, and that ball was 15 rows deep, and he had no problem pimping it and tell you how he felt about it. Unbelievable defender. The team is built so well. And then obviously you have the Rays flamethrowers coming out of the pen. You have the solid 3 of Morden, Snell, and Glasnow, and then a long list of bullpen pieces, all the way from Nick Anderson, who would be a 9th inning guy on, I would say, at least 20 teams in the league, is their first out of the pen guy right now. Diego Castillo, just a ton of guys that come out and their balls do wicked stuff. They can all go farther than 3 outs. And this team is the epitome of, in my opinion, analytical baseball, not reading too far into name baseball. Just dude, they're beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, they are Billy Bean's dream child, I think, especially on the pitching staff. That offensively, they find a way to get it done. Like we said, no big names, but the pitching staff, they have some big names in the rotation. A couple guys who have made names for themselves, and then guys that I didn't really even know until the playoffs, and I'm like, holy hell, these guys, like Ryan Thompson throwing from the arm angle that he does, Fairbanks pumping 99, some of the other, and Alvarado's been out almost the entire playoffs. He's another guy that's a flamethrower out of their bullpen. It just, Oliver Drake, very deceptive arm angle. They're a very unique team. I don't think we've seen a team quite like them overperform relative to kind of what they look like on paper and just get contributions from guys you're not expecting.
Yeah, they're giving me big 2015 Royals vibes where they're going to pitch the crap out of it. They're going to have a deep bullpen. They're going to play electric defense. And they're going to get offensive contributions from guys that you have never heard of routinely throughout the playoffs. And it's whether they can really all put it together to win themselves a World Series.
Even then, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the Royals had more kind of name value than these Rays do. Like, you had in the lineup, you had Hosmer, you had Moustakas, and you had Perez, and maybe they had the name value because they'd gone to the World Series the year before, but I feel like those guys were more known as kind of stars than anybody. Like, those 3 all seem like bigger names than anybody the Rays have in the lineup. When you look at the pitching staff, I mean, the Royals had that bullpen of Holland, Davis, and Herrera in the back end that everybody knew that was lights out. They were all household names. And you had Cueto and Shields in the rotation. And with the Rays, you've got Snell, who's a former Cy Young winner. Glasnow is good, but for the most part, still unproven. And until this year, not a super household name. And you've got Charlie Morton, who's on a career revival train. I mean, I definitely feel like even relative to the 2015 Royals, the Rays don't have the same star power, but they seem to be just as good, if not better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think a couple of these guys might become household names if the Rays can pull off a dub. Absolutely. I think everyone will know Rays Arena. I think everyone's going to know Lau. If Adames, I think those are the 3 guys. If the Rays can pull out a World Series here, those are going to be the 3 guys that really stick out of the hitters. But they are facing the Dodgers, and that is quite the task because they are star-studded from 1 to 9. I mean, even tonight, they're running out a lineup of Betts, Seager, Turner, Muncy, Smith, Bellinger, Chris Taylor, Peterson, and Austin Barnes. And the only person that a casual baseball fan may not know is Austin Barnes.
Yeah, but even then, he played pretty well in the 2017 World Series for them. So if you've watched any kind of playoff baseball the last 2-3 years, you might recognize Austin Barnes' name too.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched him go 7 with the Braves, and there's literally not a break in that lineup. There is not one moment where you're like, "Oh, okay, thank goodness we got to the this 8-hitter, the 7-hitter, the 9-hitter in the big moment." Because, oh man, dude, the 7-hitter's Chris Taylor, who's historically been a great playoff player. Oh, the 8-hitter is Jock Peterson, who can take you 450 at any given moment. Oh, the 9-hitter is Austin Barnes, who, again, has been a plenty solid contributor. And that's only if Will Smith is DHing. Sometimes Will Smith's behind the plate, and they have an even better DH in there.
You know what's craziest to me is they're platooning guys, more or less, that would be solid starters on probably 20 out of 30 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Jock Peterson, I know he can't hit lefties, but he's probably not platooning on most teams in the bigs. AJ Pollock is a dude. Do you remember like 2015-16 when we thought Pollock could be a legitimate top 10 player in baseball?
Yep.
And he's now almost a platoon bat with the Dodgers. And that's no disrespect to Pollock. He was great this year. I think he was like third in the NL in home runs or something. But they are so deep. It's incredible.
Well, yeah, like Pollock is right now getting platooned. Basically, so Austin Barnes can be behind the plate and Will Smith can get a day off behind the plate in the DH role. And Pollock's a guy, you said it right. You put him on probably 25, I would say 25 teams in Major League Baseball, and he's an everyday starter. Yet the Dodgers and Dave Roberts have no issue sitting him because they're that deep. And it doesn't just stop there with the Dodgers either. Their pitching staff's unbelievable. You have Cy Young candidates and Bueller and Kershaw. You have guys like Urias and Dustin May who are absolutely have filthy stuff. Their pin is a tad bit lacking, but when you have, and Gonsolin in the starting rotation as well, when you have a starting 5 like that in May can come out of the pin throwing 100 at any moment, Urias can go 3-4 innings out of the pin or start. You really don't need too deep of a pin.
Yeah, no, I agree there. The pen is their weak spot, but I think we've touched on this before. If the Dodgers' pen is your weak spot, you're doing pretty darn well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not a disrespect to their pen. That's just, it happens to be their weakest link because their rotation is so good, because their lineup is so good and so deep that just by default their bullpen is their weakest link. But I would say it's pretty unanimously a top 10 bullpen in baseball, maybe even a top 5 bullpen in baseball when everybody's kind of even playing up to their normal standards.
Yeah, as it sits currently, the Dodgers actually just scored a couple more runs. It's 4-1 Dodgers, bottom of the 5th, one out. Glasnow's kind of getting pieced up a little bit. They had to bring in Ryan Yarbrough now to face Bellinger. I wouldn't say it's too unexpected that this is happening as Kershaw started tonight. I don't hang my hat on playoff Kershaw. I like to make the jokes. I like to pick at it. But it's Clayton Kershaw at the end of the day.
You know, while we're kind of on the subject of playoff Kershaw, and I haven't gone back and watched a lot of his like 2017 World Series in Game 5, he gave up that homer to Gurriel to tie the game, and that was not good. But I watched one. I got in the mood for playoff baseball last night, and I was watching playoff highlights from the last 10 years on YouTube. And do you remember the ball that, I don't know if it was Matt Adams. It was Cardinals at Dodgers. It was a 6th inning. Kershaw was at like 118 pitches with the bases loaded in the 6th inning. And I guess it was Joe Torre at the time, or whoever. Mattingly maybe. Left him in the game at 118 pitches with the bases loaded. And of course he's going to give up a hit. Like, I do think some of it has just been that he's been so good in the regular season that they kind of leave him in spots where anybody else would be taken out. And you're just playing with fire at that point. Like, some of these, quote, playoff Kershaw collapses, I don't know how much of the blame I totally place on Kershaw, because I think they've kind of hung him out to dry a little bit. They've just left him in too long in certain instances where you're going to get nothing but bad results.
Yeah, who said it? Someone said that. Had that quote today that said playoff Kershaw is nothing but him just being in a game a little too long. And they're
Yeah.
probably right because in playoff baseball, starters go 5 innings, and that's how it is. They go five, you pull them because the third time in the lineup, every number says the third time in the lineup, you usually get rocked. Even Charlie Morton, I was watching the game. Charlie Morton, first time through, opponents had around a 700 OPS, second time through, 750, third time through, over 1,000 for Charlie Morton. And almost every pitcher's like that. You're never really going to find one that's not like that unless we're talking about prime Clayton Kershaw or prime Bob Gibson, who both had freakishly good careers and seasons. You're not going to find too many guys that third time through that lineup are doing something, especially in the postseason here. So I think you're right about playoff Kershaw there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hedge the Dodgers here for myself. I said Dodgers in 6. I think the Rays do pull out a couple. I think we're gonna get a really good start from Charlie Morton here, and I think Charlie's gonna win them a game. I have a lot of faith in playoff Charlie. It's a different breed than regular season Charlie. He's been there. He's done that. He's won himself a ring. He's done enough to win them a game. I think the Rays scratch maybe a bullpen game, but overall, I don't see the Dodgers lineup struggling too much with a lot of these Rays guys. That's not a knock on the Rays, as we both just hyped them up. But right now, Corey Seager is playing on another planet. I have never seen a dude really play this well. He absolutely raked against the Braves. 4 home runs against the Braves in that series. Right now, he's drawn 3 walks tonight in 3 plate appearances. And then when you back that up with Bellinger starting to heat up, and a bunch of guys, Mookie Betts, who's AL MVP winner, NL MVP finalist, and is a superstar in the league, probably a top 10 player. You could make an argument for top 5 if you wanted to, but I just don't see the Dodgers lineup really faltering. Maybe like whoever a DS team or a wild card team, because we even saw Houston really heat up against the Rays there down the stretch and take it to 7 games.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on predicting this series. I know we put that tweet out yesterday with our World Series predictions, and I had Dodgers in 7, and I'm going to stick by that. I think I would not be surprised at all if the Rays take game tomorrow. The Dodgers are locked in with Kershaw as their Game 1 starter and Buehler as their Game 3 starter. But Game 2, especially when you had Dustin May, Gonsolin, and Urias all have to pitch significant pitches in Sunday's game, it's going to be basically a bullpen game for them tomorrow, and I'm not super confident in that, especially with none of them on anywhere near full rest. But I'm so torn because I feel like Atlanta and Tampa are both very solid teams. So I feel like if Atlanta can go up 3-1, I feel like the Rays can at least get it to 7, even if they don't go up 3-1 at any point. But also, I do feel like Atlanta is a much better team than Houston, and Houston took Tampa to 7 games. So I'm kind of torn on that. I think at the end of the day, they're both very good teams in different areas. I think the Rays pitching will be better than they showed tonight, although if the Dodgers offense is confident and as hot as they are right now, I may have to hedge and go Dodgers in 6, but for right now, I'll stick with my Dodgers in 7 prediction.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We're on the same page.
I'm fully even though I have Dodgers in 7, I'm fully confident that the Dodgers will win the series.
The Dodgers are just, we've obviously seen it with the Rays. We've seen kind of these lesser names, these more analytical teams, these more bullpen built teams do it in the past. But the Dodgers just seem a little too good to let it happen. That team is, as much as we want to talk about the perfect, no name analytical built team, the Dodgers are the perfect have every name built team. I mean, like, their flaws, their bullpen, and they still have a pretty nasty bullpen. Their bullpen is probably still top 5 in baseball. They have a lot of guys. The Dodgers are really, really good. They showed it in the NLCS coming back down from 3-1. They showed it all regular season. They showed it for the last few years. The Dodgers are just really, really good. But the Rays, you're gonna have to get contributions from no-name guys. You're gonna have to. I think if there's one guy I'm really looking to step up here for the for the Rays, I think it has to be either Austin Meadows or Hunter Renfroe. Obviously, Arena has done everything he can. Brandon Lau is going to be Brandon Lau. He's going to have good at-bats. But I think they need that third guy that really needs to step up. I think Hunter Renfroe can hit 3 home runs in one series. I think Austin Meadows can do the same thing. I think it's going to be one of them in the lineup who really need to get hot here to be able to match Cody Bellinger or match a Corey Seager. Because if they have no one to match him, they're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
The Dodgers have now scored another run. They're piling on. Chris Martin just drove in Will Smith. 2 outs, bottom of the 5th. Tyler Glasnow was left in the game. He threw the second most pitches in World Series history with over 100, only trailing Johnny Cueto. I was just kind of I was going through a tweet. I was going through Twitter, and usually some of John Boy's tweets, I don't agree with the takes or something, but we talk about Tyler Glasnow a lot, and I'm a huge fan of Tyler Glasnow. I think his stuff is wicked. But 14 earned runs in 23 and 2/3 innings for Glasnow. If he wasn't a pitching ninja god or a Twitter GIF god where his stuff moves a lot, we might be talking about him in another light. If he was on, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like Tyler Glasnow. I like him a lot, but he's really, really faltered and taken a step back during this postseason. I mean, it's like an 8.81 ERA or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. He's faced some killer offenses, not as much Tampa, but New York, Houston, as hot as they were, and now the Dodgers. Outside of Atlanta, those are easily the 3 best offenses in baseball, I think. So it's definitely going to be tough, but yeah, he's gotten hit hard in the postseason. But again, I'm not ready to write him off. He is so good in the regular season that it's tough. I think he may potentially, maybe he's going the Kershaw route where he's just not going to be as effective and get hit harder in the postseason. But his stuff is so good, and he's so good in the regular season that I'm not ready to write him off.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I thought it was just something that points out because I see a lot of pitching Twitter talking Tyler Glasnow is like a top 3 pitcher. That's kind of how they talk in, that's Twitter, though, I guess. Vocal minority, right?
His starts haven't been that bad. Tonight was not good. But
no.
Before that, 6 innings, 2 earned to Toronto. 5 innings, 4 earned to New York, and they won that game. 2 starting game 5. That's one thing that John Boy's not going to mention is Glasnow starting game 5 on short rest against New York through 2 1/3. Did not give up a hit to start the game or a run. So that alone I think kind of helps redeem him this playoffs, because I don't know if they win that game if he doesn't come out and start game 5 like he did. He really set the tone for them the entire game. The Yankees scored 1 run. And then I think he only threw 1 game against Houston in that series. They lost, but he gave up 4 in 6 innings, which not great, but not a terrible start. And then tonight he's gotten hit around a bit, but I don't think his postseason performances so far have been quite as bad as that tweet indicates.
Fair take.
The truth is always somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, but again, Dodgers in 6 for me. I think the Rays scratch out a couple here. I think the Dodgers lineup is too deep when you have guys like Kike Hernandez and A.J. Pollock or Jock Peterson or all 3 of them coming off the bench. You're more likely not going to lose many series. Again, I think the Rays scratch a couple, but I think the Dodgers take it pretty handily in 6.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Yeah, still going Dodgers in 7, but I will say I would be much less surprised if the Dodgers win in 5 than if the Rays win in 7.
Now, I can tell you one thing I'm very happy about. The Houston Astros are not in the World Series.
Oh, thank goodness. The tweet, who was it? Tweeted that, are the Astros finally beginning to make us like them?
I tweeted it. It was a Sports Center quote. I was sitting at work, and I about lost my mind when I heard it.
Yeah. I replied to you on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not mistake good, exciting baseball for liking or rooting for a team. You can, like I was saying earlier, I was watching 2017 World Series, specifically Game 5 highlights last night and today, and that was objectively really good, really exciting baseball. That 2017 World Series Game 5 is one of the best games I've ever seen. I think it is probably the best World Series game of the last decade, easily. I don't know if you remember the back and forth in that game was ridiculous. At no point in that game did you feel like a lead was safe. At no point in that game could you have looked me straight in the eyes with confidence and tell me you knew who was going to win that game. But looking back, like even watching the highlights today, knowing that the Astros were likely cheating in that game and knowing what I know now, it was still objectively good, exciting baseball. I got chills watching some of that and listening to the calls, but did it make me like the Astros anymore? Absolutely not. And neither did this series. Let's not confuse good baseball and enjoying watching good, exciting playoff baseball for enjoying the Houston Astros.
I'm 100% with you. I don't like the Astros. They still cheated to win a World Series. That is the fact. That is what it is.
They've no remorse.
I understand SportsCenter and ESPN as a whole really do not care about baseball and basically are just clickbaiting the living crap out of everything they can, especially when it comes to baseball. No, it does not mean I still have to like the Astros. Good baseball is good baseball, man. I like watching good baseball regardless of who's on the other side. Watching Carlos Correa hit a ball 450 feet and get super excited. It's fun to watch. Doesn't mean I like the dude. Doesn't mean I like the Astros as a team. But just on the World Series, Bregman was absolutely terrible in the series.
Good.
He had a 343 OPS, batted 143, was horrendous. Really, I think the reason why Houston lost, because the guys in front of him were really good. Springer wasn't that great, but Altuve had a 1,400 OPS, Brantley 913, Correa 829, and then after that, Bregman had a 343, Tucker had a 593, Gurriel batted 143 with the 476, Reddick a 513 OPS, and Maldonado wasn't terrible, but outside of the top four for them, really 2 through 4, they were a very shallow team this year, which is very uncharacteristic of past Houston teams. I'm not going to say it's because they didn't have a camera. I'm not going to rehash that argument. I feel like we've beat that dead horse enough times. But you know, I don't enjoy seeing players fail, but I definitely didn't mind watching Yuli Gurriel and Josh Reddick the most out of them, because I felt like both of those guys, I don't know why Gurriel rubs me the wrong way. It could be past racist statements plus the whole thing, and then Josh Reddick acting like he's a big bad dude on Twitter. Like you're like one bad season away from maybe being a Nick Markakis bench bat at best. So I enjoyed seeing them not win and not do that great. But to be fair, while Jose Altuve hit well, he literally looked like a child playing second base.
Like Steve Sack out there playing second base.
He couldn't throw the ball. He had a major thing of the yips. His hands were slow. He couldn't field a ball. So, like, that was enjoyable, too. But all around, a really good series, and I was happy to see that Houston just kind of flat face.
Oh, yeah. No. I even being a Yankees fan, I was still pretty... I wouldn't say devastated, but felt let down after that Game 5 loss, especially the way it ended. But after about an hour, I realized it hit me. I was like, wait a minute. This sucks, but the Rays are playing the Astros in the ALCS, and I think I sent y'all a text. I would much rather the Yankees lose in the division series and have the Rays win and beat the Astros than have the Yankees advance but then lose in the ALCS if that meant the Astros were going to the World Series. I would rather see the Yankees not even make the ALCS if it meant that Houston would have gone to the World Series. So as soon as that hit, I was on the Rays bandwagon. It was an exciting series, but yeah, they got carried by Altuve and Correa. Correa was super clutch. Altuve was just great all series, at least offensively. But I'll tell you, you know why you don't like Gurriel and Reddick, and it's the same reason I don't?
Tell me.
They act like they are the best two players on that team when they hit 6 and 7, and they've hit 6 and 7 consistently for the last 3 years. I mean, they carry themselves and they act like they are the best two players on their team, and they're just objectively not. And even then, it's not like they're hitting 6 and 7 and they're hitting 300 with 20 bombs. They're hitting 6 and 7 and they're hitting 240 with 15 homers and a good amount of strikeouts. Neither of them at this point play good defense. Gurriel obviously has his own issues. Also, that haircut he had for a while just looked ridiculous. Where he had the, like, fluffy. It looked like he had cotton candy. You know the little troll hats? He looked like that. And it just, they both. Josh Reddick has always rubbed me the wrong way. I think he thinks he's a tough guy. He's got that tough guy persona, and he just tries way too hard to make that his mantra. And yeah, they both act like at this point that they're a lot better than
this may be out of left field, and I'm not sure how accurate this is or whether you're going to agree with me. But remember when Reddick and Donaldson were both on the A's?
Yeah.
Reddick is just a really bad version of what Josh Donaldson is. Like this tough, gritty, nasty guy. He just is not good.
Yeah, and Donaldson's won an MVP. I don't even know if Josh Reddick's made an All-Star game.
That's what I'm saying.
He certainly has. He has not in Houston.
That's what I'm saying.
Him and Gurriel both. At least Gurriel came up big. I mean, he had a couple big hits in the World Series. Reddick didn't hardly do anything that I remember.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna act,
he did not do much. He did not do much to earn Houston that ring.
If you're gonna act like Josh Reddick acts, go ahead, go win you an MVP. Go be the heart of a city somewhere. Go have a comeback tour. Be really good at baseball. If you're gonna act tough and gritty and be, have the bad guy mantra and be the nasty, dude on the field who really doesn't care, be like Josh Donaldson. Be good. It's like once they left Oakland, Josh did it, and Josh Reddick, or I guess Donaldson did it, and Josh Reddick was just like the very bad version of what if Josh Donaldson wasn't an MVP. That's what Josh Donaldson would be Josh Reddick.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. That's funny. I've never thought about that before. I kind of forgot they both played for Oakland, but
out of left field, baby, out of left field.
I think that's spot on.
Yeah, but if there's one guy on the Astros I really don't mind, I'm not sure if I've given this take yet. I really like Michael Brantley. I really wish he wasn't on Houston.
Brantley's great.
Dude, he
wasn't on that World Series team.
No, he's some of the most fun ABs to watch. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're throwing 90 miles per hour with the loopiest curveball in the league or you're throwing 102, he looks exactly the same. He's just, like, so relaxed in the box. He's going to slap you a pull side double. He's going to slap you a backside 5-6 ground ball single. He might pull one out of the yard every now and again. He's a really fun player to watch. I really wish he wasn't on Houston.
I agree with you there, Brantley. And I really don't have many gripes with guys on their pitching staff. I was a decent fan of McCullers until he decided that he wanted to talk a bunch of crap on Twitter and then cower away like a child when he got it thrown back at him. That I lost a lot of respect for him there. I was kind of a fan of him before. But no, you're right. Brantley's a guy that I really like. I liked him before he came to Houston. My opinion of him didn't really change after going to Houston. He wasn't involved in any of this stuff they were doing, really. He's just a true professional. Like, he puts out professional at-bats every time. He's a great hitter. He's kind of a nice throwback to hitting of the old days a little bit, I think, instead of today's approaches. He doesn't strike out much. He strikes me as a guy, he's like that choke and poke 2 outs kind of guy instead of a swing for the fences with nobody on when you're down 3 in the 9th inning type of guy.
Yeah, I completely agree.
He's got a great approach at the plate.
Yep. But any final thoughts on this series as like a whole, other than like Randy being really, really good at baseball?
No, I mean, I'm kind of surprised the Rays let it get back to 7, but they pulled it out.
Yeah, it was almost embarrassing.
Great series, and I'm glad the Astros are sitting at home.
Yep, I agree. Let's flip over to NLCS.
MLB is pissed that they missed out on an Astros-Dodgers rematch.
Yeah, they are. But could you imagine how weird it'd be watching Rays Braves? I think Manfred would roll over in his office.
That would have been worse for him. But I'm sure he was salivating at the chance to have Houston and LA rematch.
Oh, I agree. But let's flip over to the NLCS where the Braves blew a 3-1 lead.
I'll let you cover this one for a bit.
Honestly, I sat back. I watched Bellinger hit that absolute just piss missile into the bleachers. I was like, yeah, that's it. I have no faith in the Braves in the last 3. Just looking at the numbers. Ronald's going to have wrist surgery here in a week or two there's without a doubt he was on the DL for a month during the regular season. He had a 560 OPS. That's a very bad series, especially for anyone. But that's really bad for a guy who we're talking MVPs in the future with. He's gonna have wrist surgery here soon. It's kind of one of those things that, without a doubt, as a Braves fan watching him throughout the series, he just wasn't the same. Freeman was really good. Freeman batted 360 over 1,000 OPS. Marcell Ozuna was really good. Darno, bad series. Albies was really good. Swanson was really good. Really, the Braves lineup was good, up and down. And it came down to exactly what we've been talking about the Braves all season, and that's pitching depth. When Kyle Wright is going game 3, which was an absolute embarrassment, you somehow get a really good game out of Bryce Wilson. You win that game. And then once you lose the game where AJ Minter comes out and goes 3 innings with 7 Ks, you lose that game, you lose momentum. And I knew it the moment we went down 3, the moment we went up 3-1, and then we lost the lead in game 5 there. I was like, yeah, this is not going to go well. You can't spoil an opportunity like that. Max Fried throws really well the next day. The Braves offense just can't produce. And then, I don't know, man. It came down to pitching depth for me with the Braves. You needed one more starter. We said that at the trade deadline. We said that going into the playoffs. And it came back to bit them. When the Toronto Blue Jays are getting Robbie Ray and Taijuan Walker and Ross Stripling and Mike Clevenger's going for nothing. And those 3 guys I just named were going for players to be named later. And Mike Clevenger was going...
Clevenger is not going for nothing. I distinctly remember you telling me when that trade happened that you did not like it from San Diego's perspective because they gave up too much, you thought.
They probably did. But looking back, we could have given up the same amount.
Yeah, no point. Braves needed pitching depth and didn't get it.
Yeah, and it came back to bite them because you know who the Braves went after?
Nobody.
Tommy Malone was our trade deadline acquisition.
I think he gave up 8 in his first start. Was he even on the playoff roster?
Nope.
No, he got hurt, didn't he?
Yeah, sure, hurt. We'll put that one in quotes. Cole Hamels pitched 1 game for the Braves. I think 3 total innings. Felix Hernandez opted out. I pinned this one as we're playing with house money here. Really, did anyone expect the Braves to really get to the CS, especially after Mike Soroka goes down? Your ace goes down. He's a Cy Young contender. It's not like we're talking about the ace for the Baltimore Orioles. We're talking about a guy who's sub 3, just nasty stuff. He goes down. You're getting plus performances from a guy like Ian Anderson, who no one expected to come up. You're playing with a little house money, but still, at the end of the day, you want to get to a World Series, especially as a fan. And the Braves just didn't have enough gas in the tank at the end of the day, from the bullpen to the starting rotation, to really get the job done.
Yeah, no, 100% there. I thought the Braves definitely should have made some moves at the deadline, but the comparison to me between the Braves and the Yankees is like looking in a mirror, honestly. I mean, both of their lineups stacked, and they both dealt with injuries at the beginning of the season. Judge was hurt for a bit. Stanton was hurt for a bit. And then the Braves, I know Ozzie missed some time. Was Acuna out at all at any point during the year?
Yes.
Yeah, Acuna was. I know Freddie was not 100% at the beginning of the year because COVID had hit him pretty hard. And we kind of saw that. I mean, he definitely turned it on as the season went on. And then injuries in the rotation, too. Soroka went down. Cole Hamels went down. I have to think that would have helped them out a lot in the CS. And for the Yankees, Severino and Paxton were hurt. They were missing Tommy Kahnle out of the bullpen, who I don't think Kahnle's loss is talked about enough, especially with how poorly Ottavino played this year. They really missed him. And the Yankees also sat on their hands at the deadline. They needed to make pitching moves, didn't do it, and I thought it came back to bite them too. They just looked drained pitching-wise in the ALDS. And especially, I don't remember if it was known going into the playoffs or not at the trade deadline. Had it been announced at that point that there weren't going to be off days through the championship series or not?
It was not announced yet.
I don't remember, but that's the case. There's zero excuse in your hands at the trade deadline when you need pitching up and you're okay, but well together.
Yeah, I really think that's kind of it for the Braves. Like, it's pitching depth, man. You cannot go into an NLCS with, I don't care who you're playing, with Kyle Wright and Brycey Wilson as your 3-4. Can't happen. Kyle Wright's a fringe 5-starter. He's been up and down in the minors and majors. Brycey Wilson has shown that he's barely a 5th starter in the major leagues.
And they got lucky with his performance in, what was that, Game 6?
Game 4?
Wow, wait, no, Game 4. Yeah, no, he won Game 4 against Kershaw.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Again, Braves this season as a whole, you could probably say was a huge check mark. Austin Riley made strides. A few guys made big strides, but at the end of the day, you're going for a World Series, and I claim it. I put it on the front office. You can't put it on a singular player. In my opinion, everyone pretty much performed well. The bullpen was insane. I put it on the front office. We needed an extra starter, and you're playing the best team in baseball. So that's where I'm pitting it. That's the last thing I'm going to say about the Braves.
Yeah, and it's not like the Dodgers made a deadline move to acquire Mookie or anything like that. I mean, we knew at the beginning of the year the Dodgers were going to be what they are right now. I don't have they even made any moves?
No,
I don't think so. So I mean, this Dodgers team right now that the Braves had to face is the same Dodgers team that was staring them down in the face at the trade deadline, the same Dodgers team that was staring them down in the face in March, the same Dodgers team that's been favored to win the World Series the entire season ever since Mookie got to LA. And I don't get it from the Braves' perspective. I don't get it from the Yankees, especially considering some of these kind of back of the rotation arms that have a lot more experience and track record than guys like Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson that it just didn't seem like they were going for much of the deadline. Robbie Ray, Taijuan Walker, great examples.
Dude, I wanted Ross Stripling so bad.
Especially as young and locked in as y'all's lineup is, and the pitching depth that you have still, even with Soroka and Hamels going out, like y'all have young pitching depth. You don't have playoff pitching depth, but you have young pitching depth. I think y'all have arms to spare in a potential trade for somebody that can help you this year. Guys that, like, I don't think y'all are ever going to field a rotation with Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright, Bryce Wilson, and Soroka all in the same rotation. Mm-hmm. Like, one of them is not going to perform. Like, you just, at some point, you have too much talent, and I think the Dodgers realize that, and they've capitalized on it, and they've made moves to try to win now without the expense of winning in the future, because they've also had some young talent. And I think you guys are in that situation. You've got Christian Pache, who's amazing on defense. Hold
on, right here. Speaking of Christian Pache, if Ender Inciarte takes one at-bat or has one start next year for the Atlanta Braves over Christian Pache, I will turn in my fandom. It is ridiculous that Pache got called up halfway through the year, took one at-bat, and sat on the bench for Ender Inciarte to start again. It is honestly retarded.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Anyways.
We've talked about that too many times, I feel like, for that to keep happening. But especially position-wise, you guys are young. You have Dansby, who's young, Ozzie, young, Acuna, young, Freddie, still under team control. He's by no means an old guy. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you're looking for some of these younger minor league guys to step up and have to contribute in the next 3-4 years.
It's one legit pitching piece.
I feel like we've talked about it before, but one of my biggest gripes is I don't understand why teams are so reluctant to deal young talent when they have a surplus for moves that will help them try to win now. I mean, we've seen teams do it, and it's worked. And yeah, obviously there's going to be trades where it doesn't work out in your favor. And there are other ones that just don't make sense, like the Chris Archer deal. I don't understand what Pittsburgh was doing there. That's just a bad trade in general. But moves like Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs in 2016, and even Andrew Miller too. The Indians gave up Clint Frazier and Justice Sheffield for Andrew Miller, who helped get them to the World Series for the first time in forever. Yeah, they didn't win it, but looking back now, do you think they regret that trade? I don't think so. I mean, Clint's been good for the Yankees, but he's not been anything life-changing. And same with Justin Sheffield. He's been good for the Mariners, but nothing life-changing. With the Cubs, too, even as good as Gleyber Torres has been, they're not taking that trade back. Aroldis Chapman helped carry them to the World Series. And I don't understand the reluctance to trade young talent for established help when you need it too. The Braves needed bullpen help. They have a surplus of young talent that honestly they won't all make contributions. There's not enough room for them at the major league level. And even then, their contributions may not be any more than a guy you can flip in a trade somewhere, a guy like Mike Tauchman or Gio Urshela that you just get out of nowhere, a guy like Jonathan Villar that's bounced around and basically been cast away to the Marlins. I mean, you don't think if the Braves traded Riley at some point they could have picked up a guy like Villar that could have done just as well for a couple years while they're contending?
Yeah.
I don't get the reluctance to trade iffy minor league talent with upside for some proven help that can really give you a chance at a World Series.
Here's a perfect example of it.
I don't get it. Not to say you should trade away all of your talent, but when you're in a position where you can truly contend for a World Series, and I think both the Yankees and the Braves were this year and will be for the next couple of years, I'm okay with sacrificing that chance of having somebody pretty decent 4 or 5 years down the road in exchange for help contending now.
Well, here's the thing. Here's a perfect example of this trade deadline. I wanted Ross Stripling more than I wanted any other pitcher I'd ever wanted at a trade deadline because I knew he was going to be cheap. The Blue Jays give up their 13th best ranked prospect, which is probably in the Brave system like 20th, with as deep as the Bay. Like, what is that going to give you? You're getting a guy who's been there, done that, who can start, who can come out of the pen, who's very versatile, who's established in the major leagues for your like 15th to 20th best prospect, who's probably going to be a bench bat or a pin piece at best. I don't get it. Like, Ross Stripling was cheap. Taijuan Walker was cheap. Robbie Ray was cheap. And teams refuse to do it. It's a deeper than right now situation, but right now has brought it up because you see teams do it over and over and over, where they refuse to trade prospects from 10 to 20 on their board for established major league pieces in some hopes that one of these dudes is a dime in the rough.
And you know what? You guys did that in the bullpen, and it's worked.
Yeah, you take a chance on a Tyler Mastic, and the dude's a freak of nature who's disgusting. You take a chance on a Darren O'Day.
You guys picked up Darren O'Day, who's a guy kind of like I was talking about VR, that if you need guys to fill that are kind of cast away a little bit but can still contribute, there's guys like that.
Shane Green, Chris Martin.
Green, you got in a trade. Chris Martin got in a trade.
Melanson.
I forget. Melanson was traded too, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of it. I mean, y'all's bullpen, except for I think Minner was drafted, but everybody else has been overlooked at some point or traded for pennies on the dollar. Like, that's the way to go, and it helps solidify y'all's bullpen, because I remember 2 years ago y'all's bullpen was terrible.
Yeah, other than Minter and Will Smith, every one of them was from a trade.
Will Smith too, free agent signing, and y'all made. Not everybody on your roster has to be homegrown. It's okay. I mean, the Rays have showed us, if you know what you're doing and can sniff out value, especially when you have a surplus, and they've had it, you can do really well for yourself. And the Braves did it in the bullpen, and I don't know why they didn't extend that to the starting rotation. Guys like in the Donaldson signing too, they picked a guy up without a long-term financial commitment that could help them win, and he did that last year.
Yeah,
I know he didn't stick around, but those are moves that I don't quite get why teams are not more willing to make.
I couldn't agree more. But on the flip side of this series, Cody Bellinger got hot, and he looked like the MVP that he was supposed to be. And I watched almost every pitch. I didn't watch Game 3 for very obvious reasons. But that team is dangerous, and we hinted on it in kind of the World Series preview, but there was not a moment where I was sitting there like, finally, man. Like, Max Muncy, unbelievable plate discipline, came up huge before that Will Smith bomb where the Braves could have won it. If he chases a single one of the best sliders in the game, and Will Smith's sweeping slider, it's one of the best in the game, and he lays off like 4 straight out of the zone, which is just crazy.
Muncy has the lowest chase rate in the majors.
Yeah, exactly. And he's batting in the 5-6 hole for them. Corey Seager looks like the best shortstop in the world right now. As you know, he could have been a few years ago. We were talking about Corey Seager in this light, and he's turned up. Bellinger's going back to MVP form, even with Betts kind of underperforming against the Braves. Actually, really underperforming in this series.
At the plate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't have to talk about the robbed home runs and the stolen, the yada yada yada, because the Braves ran themselves out of innings multiple times with Mookie making good catches. But again, I'm not going to continue going on.
Pick something up Cincinnati in the wild card round.
Yeah, because they looked like completed. They look like a middle school team on the base pass. Thank you, Austin Riley.
Chickens with their heads cut off.
Yeah, Marcell Ozuna not tagging up. You are a Major League Baseball player. Austin Riley, what are you doing? Nope, because it was to go up by 3, and we lost momentum, and we lost the game. Rookie mistakes.
That was a double play that got them out of the inning.
Yep, and then the Braves had first and second with nobody on. And second and third with nobody, with no outs, and that ball hit to third at Turner. Turner ends up getting Dansby in that rundown, and then turns around and gets Austin Riley out. Absolutely ridiculous. Braves ran themselves literally out of games because momentum shifts, and we both play baseball, and anyone who plays baseball or any sport, by that matter, knows how that works. Stupid plays, even when you're winning, come back to bite you in the end of the day. Because then Freeman got robbed that next inning, and we lost.
Momentum is a very real thing in anybody who's played before. And frankly, just watching the players in the dugouts, and we saw it. I noticed it the past 2 weekends watching Virginia Tech football against Carolina. They went down 21-0 early, and you saw the difference in energy on the two sidelines. And I know it's hard to be energetic when you're down like that, but if you don't have the momentum, if you have no energy, you are never going to come back. And then this past week against Boston College, they were a top 30 team. I think they were just outside the top 25 in the AP poll. And we beat them pretty bad. It was 40-14, and it was all momentum. We had all the momentum against Boston College. We had the momentum sucked right out of us against Carolina, and it made all the difference.
Yep. Seen it happen too many times. Been in happened it too many times. Yeah, we've both been there, done that in our careers, whether it's high school, travel ball, and it doesn't stop in the major leagues. If anything, it gets worse. If anything, it gets worse. But
when you have the ability of those guys, you get some momentum. Their confidence levels when they have momentum versus like ours in high school where we're worried about our parents yelling at us if we strike out.
Yeah, exactly.
The momentum, I almost would say, has more of an effect at the major league level than it does in high school. Other than like if you're a pitcher and you're walking guys, stuff like that, it gets in your head, whatever. But the momentum cannot be understated.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But
look at Boston in the 04 ALCS. That's all you need to know about momentum.
Yep. Bingo. That's why I think we've seen a few 3-1 leads get blown. I understand that they weren't huge maybe 10 years ago, but now between watching Cleveland Indians do it, the Golden State Warriors obviously do it, the Braves do it, and a couple other select few, you see why it means a lot.
I always forget Cleveland was up 3-1 in that World Series.
Yeah, no bueno. But final
blew the next year team, they blew a 2-0 lead to the Yankees in the ALDS.
Yeah, it was rough for Cleveland during those few years. But final thoughts on the NLCS?
Make moves. Don't be afraid to make moves.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
Scared money don't make money.
I agree. But to wrap up the pod, let's just go take a look at this game, and it's a blowout. Top of the 7th, the Dodgers are up 8-1 with 1 out. It's done. Sorry, Rays fans, unless this is some magical comeback y'all make. The Dodgers have just done a little too much. Fleming's now given up 2 earned for himself. So.
Yeah. The Dodgers have this one won. I can't see the Rays coming back, so it'll be 1-0 Dodgers by the time this gets out tomorrow. But I fully expect the Dodgers to win this series. The Rays are good, but the Dodgers are a juggernaut. They're the best team in baseball.
Yep, I agree with you.
I know it was only 60 games, but they had like the second best winning percentage of all time this year. I don't think people quite realize how well that team is built and how good they were in the regular season too.
Yep.
They are a juggernaut. They have, I think, a better team than they've had at any point during their 90 win stretch. I think the last 7 or 8 years they've, I guess not this year, but the 7 years before that, they've won at least 90 games, and this is the best team they've had at any point.
Yep,
through that.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Anything else? I'm about wrapped up.
I don't know, but there's nothing better than playoff baseball, man. I tell you,
Heard that
I
one.
miss having fans in the stands. Just watching some of those playoff highlights last night, the crowd roars when something major happens just absolutely give you chills.
Yep, I heard that one. Could not agree more. But thank you all for tuning into this episode of Fair It's Gone. We will catch you guys next time.